Awesome. Thank you.
All right, we've got, looks like we've got a full house. So Heather, think we can get going?
Absolutely. Scott, do
right.
you want to make the introductions?
Yeah, definitely.
Perfect.
All right, everybody. So we're on the home stretch here. We've saved the best for last. I am pleased to introduce Valen Kiefer. Valen is a public speaker, writer, patient advocate, and consultant with a passion for educating industry and clinicians on the post-transplant needs of recipients, raising awareness of the importance of organ donation, and offering hope to chronically ill patients. Diagnosed with polycystic kidney disease at the age of 10, Valen needed a kidney transplant at the age of 19 and a liver transplant at 35. Having lived her whole life with kidney disease, epilepsy, and scoliosis, and endured 30 surgeries, Valen can relate to the challenges many chronically ill patients face. As a patient advocacy consultant for Thermo Fisher Scientific, Valen helps amplify the patient voice and facilitate connections between industry, academia, practitioners, and providers in the transplant community. Thank you, Valen. I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. I am delighted to be able to spend some time with you this afternoon. I've been a patient since the age of 5, navigating several chronic illnesses from epilepsy to scoliosis and polycystic kidney disease. And I'm so grateful to be able to say that today I am a double organ transplant recipient. I'm in awe every day that I'm alive because of 2 selfless individuals, my living kidney donor and my deceased liver donor. My circle of support is endless. The countless individuals who have played a part in my journey is truly remarkable. From the ones closest to me, like my husband and parents, to my surgeons, nephrologists, nurses at the infusion center, to the countless blood donors who I'll never meet, and to the special individuals like the EMTs who would hold my hand during one of many hospital rides, and to the reassuring administrative assistant who checked me in for my first appointment at my liver transplant evaluation. And then I think of the pilot and crew who flew my liver to Barnes Jewish Hospital, which how cool is that? And to all of you who most of the time transplant recipients never have the opportunity to connect with, yet you play such a pivotal role in our entire transplant journey. The amount of people who have touched my life, supported me, and helped me to get to the healthiest and strongest version of myself that I am today is incredible. Life is special like that, as we never know who we may positively impact by our work and our words. And that unknown has empowered me to continue to share my journey with others. Outside of the direct benefits transplant patients receive from diagnostics, I asked myself, what connection do patients have with transplant diagnostic professionals like yourself? I realized that we mostly operate in separate silos that rarely touch, and it is the healthcare system that sits between us and connects us. You're in one circle, creating innovative diagnostics and educating doctors and transplant centers on the world-class resources they have available to them, thanks to Thermo Fisher, so that doctors can give patients like myself the best care possible. And then you have the patient community in the other circle. We're striving to be empowered patients and be our own best advocates. We're listening to our bodies, communicating with our healthcare team, like our nurses and doctors. And in the middle of us sits the healthcare system. I am grateful to be able to speak with you today and have the opportunity to bridge that gap between us and share how important your work is and how diagnostics got me to transplant, through transplant, and how they continue to keep me going today. First, let's talk about how they got me to transplant. My first memory is having a grand mal seizure at the age of 5, so navigating being a patient has been my whole life. Diagnostics as a whole has played a vital part in my journey, from scans, imaging, lab work, genetic testing, HLA and antibody testing, just to name a few. I have relied on all these for an accurate diagnosis, proper care, best treatment, and overall outcome. My transplant journey began when I was diagnosed with polycystic kidney disease at the age of 10. This is a genetic disease that has impacted 5 generations of my family. My mom is the oldest to survive at 65, and everyone else has passed away before the age of 53. I had very severe complications and am the first in my family to be transplanted. I turned 39 several days ago, and it has me reflecting a lot on my first transplant journey because exactly 20 years ago, on my 19th birthday, I was in the ICU at Johns Hopkins and in dire need of a life-saving kidney transplant. At this point, both of my kidneys were removed because the cyst wouldn't stop bleeding. I was on daily dialysis because I was so ill. I had pancreatitis and wasn't able to eat or drink anything. And on my birthday is when they did an endoscopic procedure for the 3rd day in a row because I was bleeding internally and they were trying to find the source of the bleed. They wound up doing emergency stomach surgery to repair the bleeding vessel in my stomach. My parents were living at the Ronald McDonald House at the time, and my doctors called my family in to say their goodbyes because they weren't sure I was going to make it through the next surgery. I was too sick to be placed on the transplant waiting list, but I needed a life-saving kidney to survive. At the time, I was just so ill fighting for my life that I wasn't educated on the imperative diagnostics that were happening behind the scenes. But as I was fighting for my life, there were others doing their best to help find me a match and a living kidney donor. Up to this point, I had received 70, yes, 70 blood transfusions, and it was critical to find a match, yet it seemed like it may be impossible. And on this slide is an MRI of my kidneys before they removed them. And all of the circles you see are all of the cysts that polluted my kidneys. And the surgeon said I looked 11 months pregnant before he removed them. So while it seemed impossible to find a match, I had a good friend of the family, Sally Robertson, that tested positive that she was a great match for me. She stepped forward to change the course of my life. And I was fortunate to have Dr. Robert Montgomery, who was willing to transplant me in such an ill state that many wouldn't. And after almost a year in the hospital, it was Sally's kidney that restored my overall health. And this year, it's amazing. It gives me goosebumps to say we will be celebrating our 20th kidney transplant anniversary. It is so amazing to think that the conversations, education, resources, and diagnostics that took place at Johns Hopkins 20 years ago, thanks to individuals like yourself, led to them being able to discover that Sally was a great match. And it is special to think of the ripple effect of good that has come from all of it and the positive impact that it is still having on me today. Now on to how diagnostics got me through transplant. As you know, transplantation is not a singular event or a cure. It's a lifelong journey for patients. Now that I received a wonderfully matched kidney, it was vital to take the best care of it. Immediately after transplant, I unfortunately started to reject the kidney, but thanks to tests and medicine, we were able to catch it quickly and get things back on track. I did well for many years after my kidney transplant, but then in the fall of 2016, I became very ill again. This is my kidney donor, Sally, and the picture on the left is us a day after I received her kidney, and then the other picture is several years after. And it's wonderful to receive a transplant from a living donor and be able to have that special connection because we're just dear friends. I kept having repeat sepsis infections with no known cause. After an exhaustive journey of tests, it was discovered that my polycystic kidney disease caused bile duct plate malformations in my liver, leading to these infections. And because I have a suppressed immune system, they just went straight to being septic. And now I needed a life-saving liver transplant. My family and I were devastated. We thought I sort of got through the major issues with PKD, and we never fathomed it would be my liver because I didn't have one cyst on my liver, which can happen, and instead it was the bile ducts. This is when the journey began of finding a life-saving liver transplant. I was concerned how my kidney would do through all of this, and I thought a lot how there isn't a lifeline for a liver transplant like there is with a kidney transplant where you can have dialysis as you wait. I knew this was truly life and death. The wait in California for a liver was a year and a half, and my team just said I wasn't going to survive that long. So their number one suggestion was to temporarily relocate to the Midwest because the wait wasn't as long. This time, instead of a living donor, I had to be on a transplant waiting list, and my husband and I temporarily relocated to St. Louis to Barnes Jewish Hospital, and we waited for the call. We lived in the waiting zone, just dreaming of the phone to ring. I had joked around with my family, don't call me during this waiting time. I want when the phone rings to know that it is the call. And we received it. And I say, my husband and I say that a lot because it was such a joint journey. So we say we received a transplant. But I got the call from my transplant coordinator, and she said, we found you your perfect liver. And that rush and emotions is like no other. And I am fortunate to be able to say that 3.5 years ago, I was lucky to be able to receive a perfect liver for me and a second chance at life. It is your diagnostics that come into our lives at such a crucial time like this. We rely heavily on their accuracy with the hope that our body won't reject the organ and that they'll last as long as possible. The results of these tests can be life-saving and life-changing. It's amazing when you just really pause and think of the stories and the humans, the lives that are connected to the work that you do. And the picture on the left is when I got all my lab work during transplant evaluation. The one in the middle is several days after a liver transplant with my fresh scar and extremely bruised arm. And the one on my right is one of my all-time favorite photos. It was when I opened my eyes after a liver transplant and saw my husband for the first time.